Hi everyone. So this week on the Life Hack series, I wanted to talk about inspired action. And the reason for this is it's been a conversation on the lips of almost everyone I've been talking to over the last few months. In the face of all of the changing stories across the world, whether that's on a personal level or a social level or a global level, a lot of people, myself included, have been asking the question, so what action is mine to take? There's so much noise in the media landscape that we could be fooled into thinking we either have the choice to do nothing, because what can we do in the face of such deep unrest and unraveling? Or some of us are being called into massive activism and protest and often anger-fueled responses, which in and of itself there's nothing wrong with, but it seems like there's a middle way in all of this. So I've been reminded when I've been thinking about the idea of hacking action and hacking this perceived polarity of non-action or action, either or. And actually there's an and scale in here. So I'm reminded of the work of Joanna Macy, who I came across years and years ago when I was studying sustainability. And her work is beautiful, so I will put the notes in here so you can check it out. But she talks about in the Great Turning, which is her description of what's happening on Earth right now, there is multiple levels of action. And actually each of us, as we discover our story and our sacred purpose, are called to different forms of action. And so I wanted to talk to you about these today because I think they feel very relevant for the questions that we appear to be asking ourselves. The first form of action is activism. Stop the destruction. Stop what is literally destroying our world, whether that's our ecosystems, our societies, our freedom. And some of us will be called to this path of I would guess, more traditional outward action, protest, radical movement to halt what we know is unhealthy and diseased in our current story and narrative. But as well as that, in simultaneous movement with that form of action, there's something that she calls the creation of the new. So some of us may be called to the co-creation of new systems, new processes, new innovations, new structures, new ways of living. And so instead of this being a retreat from the world and a removal from the inherently dysfunctional story, this is a simultaneous upswelling that happens whilst sacred activism is making a stand. So it almost weaves around and underneath the unraveling so that something new can arise. However, her third form of action, which obviously for me as a story worker is the most resonant, even though I do also take action in 1 and 2, is the changing of our meta-narrative. Because without a complete change in our cosmology, in our beliefs about what makes us human, in the meaning that we make of the world and our place in it, none of the actions in 1 or 2 in sacred activism or innovation will hold, because they're trying to take root in an old story. So for me, I rest primarily in the third form, in the changing of our myths, in the restorying of our meaning-making systems. And yet from that place, I automatically find myself pulled into cycles of innovation and regenerative business and leadership with various different people that I work with. And of course, in the times and moments that it really matters, I'm called to take up sacred activism. So there is no either or in this. And I would invite you all to feel into which of these forms of action is most resonant right now, accepting that of course you will likely weave between all of them. and take up both action in activism, action in innovation, and action in creating a new story. So I hope that's been helpful. And if it resonates, I would definitely invite you to check out Joanna Macy's work. So go out and take inspired action in whatever way feels right to you. Thanks.